Hello and welcome to Media7. I'm Russell Brown. It has presumably not escaped your attention that New Zealand is currently hosting a major international sporting tournament. And although the Rugby World Cup has generated some predictable headlines, others have been unexpected. We'll discuss the news and the sport with our expert panel soon, but first, Jose Barbosa looks at what's been said and done in the name of the game.
Let me tell you a little something about Captain Jean-Luc Picard. As a consequence of his command, Picard had to deal with a lot of stuff every week. But I wonder how he would have managed with the Rugby World Cup.
The Abstain for the Game campaign is one without a brain.
Yes, the Cup had arrived, and so it seemed, had everyone else.
Party Central will be a place to congregate. There'll obviously be large TV screens and bars and places for people to come along and celebrate.
Like a teenager gone wild with a new cell phone plan, John Key had invited every human ever to his party. And those making the home videos were appropriately buzzing out.
And Sonny Will's already got the ball rolling, predicting that New Zealand will pull the wool over Tonga's eyes in tonight's opener.
Everyone was swept up by the grand event, but none more so than Mike McRoberts, who at times sounded more like a man picking out a new valance for the bed.
Oh, how fabulous.
Actually, Mike was right. It was fabbo.
The mood here is happy and calm. Everyone's having a wonderful time.
But things soon got mucky.
The train stopped, so where does the buck stop after thousands missed the game in the chaos?
3 News understands up to 1,000 people were late or missed the game completely when trains stopped in the middle of nowhere.
Something that I think is really emblematic about the way the whole thing's been run is this. This is a council-owned lightbox.
It's been playing the same song for 2 weeks.
And as I say, it's just been playing it over and over and over and over. It's not even the greatest hits. And they just play it constantly. And I walk past every day on my way to work. And it's...
You're right, mate.
No!
You are all I need. You are all I need.
The government is going to use special powers under the Rugby World Cup legislation to take control of the Auckland waterfront.
Have you briefed the Mayor about this?
Mayor
of Auckland, Len Brown.
I haven't spoken to him personally.
I feel that better communication would have been appropriate, and to tell you the truth, I think the Minister accepts that in the discussion that I've had with him.
Fiasco's been the word on everyone's lips, and media coverage of the event has gone from the apologetic...
I don't want to focus on the negative too much, but we can report our first Rugby World Cup glitch...
to the apocalyptic. And that very word was used by the TVNZ online news to describe the scene before the Australia-Ireland match. It was as if both the author of that story and Donna Marie Lever had never been anywhere near a large sporting event.
So they're congregating on footpaths, but they're spilling out onto the road.
In reality, police reported the crowd was mostly well behaved, and some of them were even quite helpful.
I think there should be more street stuff, like block the street off and provide some bars and stuff like that.
And so, like the Enterprise D, we keep on moving forward, because for the past 2.5 weeks, the majority of us have been enjoying ourselves. And that's in spite of our elected and non-elected officials, and all the mentalists around us. Picard would be proud.
Until the next time we catch up, I speak to certain people, don't tindle. Do you have any more footage? Don't tindle.
Jose Barbosa making it so there. I'm joined now by the game statistics boffin at haka.co.nz and the Herald, and the creator of the all-important first 3 to the breakdown metric, Tracy Nelson. Former All Black trialist, writer of Foreskin's Lament and Rugby World Cup correspondent for Le Monde, Greg McGee. And the host of Talk Talk, former listener editor and the author of The Game of Our Lives, Finlay McDonald. Welcome to you all.
Hey.
Now, we've just looked quite a lot at Auckland there, Tracy, but let's go to Christchurch. But clearly the loss of the games in Christchurch has shifted the centre of gravity much more towards Auckland. Has that resulted in the loss of fervour in Canterbury, or are people still up for it?
Oh, Oh, they're still up for it, and everyone was very, very delighted with the opening ceremony in the bar I was in on the opening night. Plenty of flags on cars around Christchurch. I thought maybe there'd be more in Auckland, but it seems to be, yeah, pretty much the same down there, just no games, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's only the Tongans up here, actually. I noticed this week that the sports columnist in the press was full of praise for the All Blacks for coming over and spending their week in Christchurch. Do you think that's the general feeling down there?
Oh, absolutely, much appreciated, because we're very rugby-starved in what is, of course, a very rugby-mad town. And it was really great that the guys came out and did stuff with the kids, although, you know, there were a few tears before bedtime on Monday night after the All Blacks were supposed to be at Westfield Mall, and the crowd was so big people couldn't actually get in there, so we're told.
So it's not just us. You have apocalypses too.
Yes, but we only have half a city.
Right. Yes. Are you telling unkind jokes about us?
No, I hate to tell you this, but the rest of the country knew this would happen. And really in Christchurch we have bigger things to worry about. So we had a quiet snigger, and we did like the fact you brought a smile to our faces, but overall, yeah.
Greg McGee, do you think we've been a little bit overwrought about the opening night problems in Auckland? Have we been overwrought in general about this?
Well, not in general. I think the only one whose performance has been totally over the top is Murray McCully's. I mean, he couldn't resist the chance. There's a double whammy. He could humiliate Len Brown and the council that they don't want, and destroy the burgeoning Auckland confidence in their rail network. And it worked. Apparently last Saturday, McCully had the train to Eden Park all to himself.
Yes. Although, oddly enough, I mean, this is one of the things I find quite odd, is that a lot of the reporting has been at odds with what seemed to be the facts. Auckland Transport reported that pretty much the same number of people took the train to Eden Park, whereas all the news reports said no one did and Murray McCully was lonely.
Yeah, I feel that Christchurch and the rest of the world has ignored this story for very good reasons, because it's a bit like reports of the Auckland blizzard. You know, the South Islanders were pissing themselves about that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend who was caught in the middle of Rome after they won the Soccer World Cup, which is a somewhat bigger event, believe it or not. And you couldn't actually leave the city for 3 days. The difference being the Italians thought this was a good thing. They know how to have fun.
Do you think if McCully was looking for a PR win out with that press conference to basically set himself clear of the chaos, did it work for him?
I thought it... well, you know, I had a nightmare that it was going to work for him, and then I was relieved when it didn't. He obviously had a brain explosion between giving the press conference and then going on subsequent news programs where he denied that he'd given the press conference, basically.
And I have to say, even an urgent debate in Parliament 2 days later was held up because he hadn't made the decision.
Yeah.
Which is, you have to ask why.
He's been concussed.
Rugby.
Yeah. I mean, it's notorious, you know, about micromanagers, which is apparently what he is, that they eventually, it's like running down a hill, you know, they're going so fast their feet can't keep up. My worry is that during the World Cup final, he's going to run onto the field and micromanage the scrum, and we're going to get disqualified because of that.
My worry is that sooner or later the ministerial limo is going to be stopped at a red light, and he's going to invoke emergency regulations to change the lighting system.
If nothing else, he's given us a whole genre of jokes, hasn't he? Yeah. I was somewhat taken aback this Monday on the Herald's website by the heading, Auckland's party mood worries officials. Do we really need to lighten up a little bit here?
Well, again, I mean, we could take a lesson from the Italians, as I said before. When you have a major event like this, a little bit of set decoration, i.e. crowd chaos, is what you expect and what you get and what you need. It's like, if there's no one there to provide atmosphere, what would the reporters talk about? It's just, you know, it's part of the game.
And Greg, you're writing for Le Monde. I don't know whether they've written anything about our, you know, traffic and crowd problems, but it seems to be of no interest to the rest of the world.
Yes, I can't say I've read a lot of Le Monde because I don't actually speak French. I should admit that. But no, I don't think it's a great concern to anyone else. It's a bit like, you know, as I said before, the Auckland blizzard being laughed at by South Islanders. I think basically everyone here has had a great time, and New Zealanders have been, generally speaking, brilliant, apart from a couple of Australians, apparently.
One story that did go all over the world was the Mike Tindall story, Tracy. Jonathan Dixon, the bouncer.
How weird is he?
He looks like Lawrence Dallaglio. When I first saw him, I thought, something's happened on tour, and Dallalio's come back for vengeance. You know.
But we couldn't ignore that story, could we? I mean, it was all over the front page of the Sun. So.
Well, yes, and you did it in a very public place. So.
You know, when he's supposedly burying his nose in her cleavage, to me it just looks like she's giving him a little kiss on the forehead.
She's an old...
I think
it was fairly high on the forehead, it must be said.
He's a very tall man.
And on a slightly more serious note, leading the TV news was Zach Guilford's press conference. Do you think that was the right thing to do, to thrust that young man out in front of a whole lot of reporters?
It was damage control, very obviously, but I felt very bad for Zach, particularly sitting there for 5 minutes trying not to squirm lower in his seat. He's a young man who's gone through a lot, and I have to wonder, you know, this all happened at the end of a game. This is a kid who at the age of 20 had his father die in front of him in the stands at the end of the Under-20 World Cup. So your memory, what comes to you at the end of a game when a final whistle blows now, for him it must be that, and he didn't have a good game in Brisbane and was obviously feeling down. He's obviously got an alcohol problem, so, you know,
but in the end, what did he do? What did he do?
Nothing.
He certainly didn't do a Norm Hewitt or Jimmy Cowan. He wasn't involved with the law. Darren Shand, is it? The team manager said yesterday that he hadn't been in breach of team protocols. All he appeared to have broken was an agreement that he had with the All Black coaches. And how dare they hang a young kid out to dry like that? Apparently there was pressure from social media and so on. But so what's the remedy? You take him out and you put him on in the public televisual stocks so that he ends up on front page of the Herald and leading the news every night. I hope that that kid had got independent advice before he did that.
Because obviously the rugby union's taking PR advice from Murray McCully.
But I mean, and quite seriously, it did lead the news. It led the news on the day when the government announced it was going to legislate over a Supreme Court decision. Is this the reality for the next month, that
Yes,
basically
so.
anything is going to lead the news if it's something to do with the tournament?
Entirely predictable victory of the All Blacks over Japan led over the unpredictable victory of the Warriors the same weekend. Yes, I'm afraid you're going to have to get used to it. It's only going to get worse too. It's early days, Russell.
You're frightening me, Finley. Well, we'll hit pause on the PVR now and return after the break with a look at the tournament by numbers.